Oh, it went out. Y'all see me fix the IT? Joint Water and Sewer Commission. Tonight we are at Howard Coffin Park on the mainland. So if you're watching online and you want to come down and join us, we got plenty of seats available. We have staff available to answer questions about their specific area. These are required meetings every year per our operating agreement in order to discuss the budget and rates for the upcoming year. We were on St. Simon's last night at the casino and gave the same presentation. So tonight for our agenda, we'll talk about some of our accomplishments over the past 12 months in the big picture. We do a lot of individual work each day, and sometimes we miss the forest for the trees. We'll talk about some ongoing construction projects, and then the budget and rates for next year. We'll talk about some customer service updates, and then show some maps at the end kind of indicating the widespread nature of our upcoming project work. All right, so in the big picture, we use combination cleaners, vac trucks, to clean gravity sewers. We stick jetter hoses in the line, jet debris that has fallen into the bottom of the pipe and settled out, typically finer sands and rocks and things that get into the system, and we remove that material. Well, last year we cleaned 73 miles of gravity sewer throughout the year. We've been averaging between 70 and 75 miles for about the last 3 years, so for 3 years we're over 225 miles of pipe cleaned. Well, 73 miles, just for a point of reference, would be the distance from Brunswick to Baxley. And then we also televise lines. We put a camera on a robot into a sewer line and take pictures of the interior of the pipe so that we can inspect the condition. We did 28.4 miles of gravity sewer last year. That's a little lower than where we'd been the previous 2 years. We had some equipment issues. We still managed to get just shy of 30 miles of gravity sewer televised. 28 miles is like running from Brunswick to Woodbine if you laid pipe end to end. While we were cleaning and televising those miles of pipe, we removed 324 tons of debris that never made it to the wastewater plant. 324 tons is roughly the weight of 4 of the space shuttles if you laid them on top of each other. At the wastewater facilities, we operate 3 wastewater plants, one in downtown Brunswick, Academy Creek. That's the largest facility we have. One on St. Simon's called Dunbar Creek, and one at Exit 29 called Southport. At those 3 wastewater plants, we treated 3.58 billion gallons of wastewater. That's 9.8 million gallons a day across the 3 plants, with about 6 million of that coming at Academy Creek. 3.58 billion gallons or 9.8 million gallons a day is enough to fill up 15 Olympic-sized swimming pools per day of wastewater. And then while we were treating the wastewater, the biological processes that remove the solids removed just over 2,800 tons of solids from the wastewater. So that's material that was put into the system organically, and then it was removed before it was discharged to the water bodies, and that's the weight of 1,200 rhinoceroses. On the water side, we have wells all throughout the county. We have a very distributed system, so we don't have one location that's a pinch point for us. We pump 3.01 billion gallons of clean water. Now, you'll notice that that is less clean water than wastewater, and so there's 2 reasons for that. One, on the wastewater side, we do get groundwater and rainwater that invades our system over time, and we have to pump and treat that. But also, we have some very large sewer-only customers here on the mainland. Pi Nova, Rich Products, King and Prince all send us their processed wastewater, and they use their own wells for their water source. And then on St. Simon's, we have one large sewer-only customer as well. So we'll always have more sewer than clean water each year. Well, 3.01 billion gallons of water for the last year. I'm a big coffee drinker. If you come by my office almost exclusively, I'll have a cup of coffee. Well, that'll make 18.8 billion cups of Starbucks coffee in the last year. So a lot of coffee could be drank over the previous year. Our planning and construction group reviews development plans for new construction development that's going on out in the county, particularly in the North Mainland. If you've driven out there, you've seen a lot of this going on. In the past year, we've added 628 new service locations to our system. Those are parcels that were approved through the city or Glynn County that now have access to public water and sewer systems. There may not be a house built there, but they have access. We had 697 new connections made in the last year. Now, why are there more new connections than new service locations? Well, if somebody plats 50 lots, they don't build all those houses in 1 year. So they're kind of infilling some of the vacant lots they had out there. So just shy of 700 new meters in the last year. We've completed $16.9 million in capital projects over the past 12 months. That's following up the previous 2 years of being around $20 million the previous 2 years. So we're just around $60 million in capital projects over the past 3 years at Joint Water and Sewer. And our customer service folks that do a great job in the lobby. Almost 50,000 people paid their bills each last year, so about 4,000, a little over 4,000 a month came to the lobby and pay their bills. So that's a little over 10%. Oops, sorry, messed up again. A little over 10% of our customer base comes in. We have 31,500 ballpark customers, so 4,000 come by each month and pay their bills. Most of those pay with cash at the office, although some do come by and just swipe the credit card, even though it could, there we go, they could pay online. We're happy to see them down at the office. So again, about 4,000 people a month come by to pay their bill. Some projects that I'll highlight on the water side that are either recently completed or currently ongoing. Mall and Oglethorpe EST is elevated storage tank or water tower. We rehab 2 of those, and that project is very near completion. They're doing punch list items now. Galvanized water mains replacements. Galvanized lines are old metal lines that have problems with corrosion and leaks, and we're going through the system replacing those lines right now. And then we're doing a system-wide water meter replacement project. We're replacing about 30,000 meters. We started this about 18 months ago, and we're expected to be complete by the end of this calendar year. So here's some photos of the water towers. We did the Mall and Oglethorpe tanks. The Mall tank is cleverly located near Glen Place Mall. We just got this one completed on the painting side here, and with College of Coastal Georgia, we partnered with them, painted their school logo on that tank. If you go out near the Walmart intersection on Tampa Connector, it looks really good out there. That logo was painted last weekend. And on the right, that's a picture of the Oglethorpe tank. That's on the north end of St. Simons, and that shows you how they go about part of the process of painting and cleaning those tanks. They weld these brackets on to the tank, and they strap curtains across the outside so when they blast the paint off, it doesn't go flying everywhere. So it all falls down in the curtain, and they can get it off the ground and move on. So here's galvanized water project. Right there on the left, our water distribution supervisor, Mr. Alvin Hall, showcasing a fine piece of 2-inch galvanized line that he pulled out of the ground there. That's probably down to about a 1-inch now after the corrosion over the years. So if you know your fluids, that's not half the flow, that's about 1/3 the flow that's going through that line by shrinking it down. So getting that piece out of the system and installing a new poly line or plastic line in there would drastically improve water volume and pressure to that customer. And on the right, that's the other thing. It corrodes on the inside, and they're very brittle on the exterior. So you see right here, well, it's not showing up over there. Never mind. There's a hole right here in this pipe where you see that would have been leaking. In our sandy soil, we may not always realize that the water is leaking out, but we have a program to replace these lines because it does increase the water loss before the meter. So that you're not billed for that, but it is something we're having to pump because it is leaking. Now, the new water meters, nothing exciting about seeing pictures of water meters, but we do have considerably more data about your water usage with these meters that can be useful for you to trying to reduce your water bill each month. So this is an example here, happened last year. You see in June and July of 22 on the monthly level, 717 and then 1,358 gallons. In the month of August, it jumped up to nearly 17,000 gallons of water. Went right back down to around 2,000 gallons a month in September and October. So see the high usage, customer got the bill, high usage, wanted to know more information. We looked at, then we can get down to the daily level, and you see very little usage, less than 100 gallons usage per day every day, but Sunday, August 14th through Tuesday, August 16th. Then we look down to the hour level, and we see the usage really jumped up around noon on the 14th, on Sunday the 14th. So anybody that was not at the presentation last night, have a guess as to what caused this to occur? Well, I know this one, My daughter was at church and left the faucet running in the kids' classroom at church on Sunday after church, and the faucet was running for 2.5 days. So the cleaning lady came in on Tuesday and found the faucet running in the kids' bathroom. So yes, my daughter caused this one, but we got it taken care of. Didn't get a leak adjustment because it was not a leak, but we had to supplement the bill there individually. So got that turned off and got a nice talk about not wasting water. Now here's a more common thing you will see here. This is a classic example. This is from last March. This customer, we notified them they had continuous consumption. We can't tell you have a leak because you may be filling a swimming pool or something, but if you run for 24 hours with these meters without having a break, we're going to let you know you got continuous consumption. This customer was using at least 8 gallons an hour every hour of the night, even 1, 2 in the morning. Of course, you see a spike there at 8 in the morning. Customer probably got up, took a shower, did some laundry, and then you see it goes down a little bit during the day, picks up between 5 and 9 in the evening when you get home from work. But that usage never goes to zero. This is a classic toilet bowl flapper that was not seating properly. You can use between 4 and 8 gallons of water an hour by having a toilet bowl flapper that's not seating properly. Well, if it's 8 gallons an hour like this customer's was, that runs up almost 6,000 additional gallons a month on a billing cycle if it runs 8 gallons an hour. That'll add about $50 a month to your bill. So if you got the continuous consumption and you see something like this, 6, 8 gallons an hour that is coming through there, oh, it went out again. There we go. 6 to 8 gallons an hour. Probably can go to Home Depot, pick up a $5, $4 flapper. I hadn't bought one recently with everything. These days, maybe $10 now. But you can get that corrected for you and we can get you a leak adjustment. On the sewer side, I'm going to highlight 4 major projects, 2 that are complete and 2 that are ongoing. North Mainland Sewer Basin Reroute was a large SPLOST project to open up more sewer capacity in the North Mainland. WPCF is Water Pollution Control Facility. That's a fancy word for a wastewater plant. Academy Creek, we just finished a rehab up on it. There we go. Earlier this spring. Dunbar Creek on the island is under construction now, and then we're focusing as a commission on the water and sewer service extensions to our currently unserved areas. So here's the North Mainland project. That yellow line is the route of the new force main, which is the pressurized pipe that the pump station pumps the flow to till it gets to a gravity basin. That was installed. It's about 18,000 linear feet of pipe. Runs from a pump station on Harry Driggers Boulevard, very near North Glen Park, and runs down Harry Driggers until it turns into Canal, through the intersection of Golden Isles Parkway, and terminates at a gravity basin on Ogden Road, which is just off of Old Jessup. And what that did by rerouting that flow, previously that went across the airport and Fletsy and down Highway 17 and come down Altama. This shortened the distance that flow was going and opened up capacity by putting in some larger diameter lines. It opened up about 1 million gallons a day of capacity in the North Mainland District. On the right, you see them making the final connection there. Portions of this project were put in with horizontal directional drilling, and portions of it were put in with open cut, so they had to connect them together at the end so the pipe would flow. So that project wrapped up last summer, so just after we had this meeting last year. This is a drone photo of the Academy Creek facility. This is a project we just wrapped up in March or April. Finalized the pay app in May, so I know that all the money's been paid out. But just kind of show you here. Yeah, my pointer's now working. So here we did a lot of different work. This gray cylinder you see here is an odor control tower that was not there previously. That has been installed. That is a way to biologically treat the gases that are coming into the sewer plant. So we enclosed the influent channel at the sewer plant so that we could draft all that air out and treat them for the odors that we have there. So that's been running, and when it has been running, it's been working very effectively. Of course, once you enclose something, if you remove the lid from it, all of that now concentrated gas comes out and you get a bad odor day. But we're working through some challenges there, but it's been working effectively for some time. This is a new splitter box facility that directs the flow between these 3 rectangular basins here. Those are the aerated basins that actually where all the biological treatment occurs. That new splitter box helps distribute the flow more evenly to those 3 basins. And then we did some improvements inside these. These are called clarifiers, these circular things. Did some improvements to help distribute the flow more evenly within those clarifiers, and did some repiping so that we can have some more flexibility with how we operate. And then here on the back end, we installed this structure. This is a tertiary filtration equipment that was installed. So we were getting about 5 parts per million leaving the facility as solids. By putting in these filters, we're getting 1 to 2 parts per million out of the facility. That was not a permit-driven requirement. We're well within permit at 5. Just trying to be good stewards of what we've been entrusted with and putting back as clean a water as possible back into the river. We also paved everything inside the plant. You see the fresh asphalt there. That was a big win for the people that have to drive around that plant every day. And there's a good drone photo here just showing the marsh in the background and the discharge stream there. A reminder of a beautiful place that we get to live and work. Here's some photos of the ongoing construction at Dunbar Creek, which is on the island. We're relocating some filters and UV disinfection equipment out of one basin into a new basin at that facility. On the left there, you see them forming to pour the concrete there to direct those channels for the filter and UV structures. And on the right, that is a photo of the new diffusers that are installed inside the aeration basins over there. These are new fine bubble diffusers. They give you very small bubbles of air that we pump in, and the bacteria consume the air to facilitate their actual biological processes. So this will give us better air transfer and also more efficiency with some control logic we're putting in. It's going to save us about $30,000 to $40,000 in power each year with this new system. The areas you see highlighted there are areas that we are focusing on for expansion projects for running new water and sewer lines. The yellow area on the left is the Arco neighborhood. That is currently under construction right now, hoping to be completed by the end of the calendar year. That's about 450 lots that do not have access to public sewer that will have access once completed. The 2 pink areas are projects that are under engineering design and very nearing completion on engineering design. The one to the north is the community road area. That commercial district between Haversham and Altama does not have access to public sewer, so we're going to provide access to public sewer there. And the one to the south is Brunswick Villa, just across the railroad tracks from Arco. Some older workforce type housing, I think when the mill was installed back several decades ago, a lot of those houses were built there. It's about 200 lots that don't have access to sewer that will have access. On the right, these are projects that we're looking to facilitate as part of the SPLOST referendum that was passed. The blue areas there are targets for that. The first one right here, this is the area along Whitlock on either side of the railroad tracks between essentially Arco and Community Road in that general region there. That area it's a difficult area to serve because it's bound on all sides by railroad tracks, but it's an area that is in need of new water and sewer services. These 2 areas, this is Bell Point, the south end of Bell Point, and this is Country Club Farms. Some neighborhoods that have access to water but not sewer. Country Club Farms would be done before Bell Point. It's unlikely we'll be able to sewer all of Bell Point with the SPLOST referendum, but we might get started in there. And then on the island, 2 neighborhoods, 2 larger areas that do not have access to sewer. This is Epworth Acres as you just come onto the island, and this is St. Clair and Mid-Island. Neither of those currently have access to sewer. St. Clair's got about 1/3 of it access to sewer. So those are also target areas for us coming up. Working on getting an engineering contract together for that one. On the upcoming project side, just a few highlights. On the water, North Mainland Water Loops it doesn't seem to be doing much when you look at it if you're not familiar, but what that does is loop the system in multiple areas so that the water can be fed from different directions. There's 3 strategic locations we're going to loop. Currently, if the water on Kate Road, if there's a blowout on the main, the only way to shut that water line off is to basically shut off everything at exit 38, which is, never want to do that, never want to shut off more water than we absolutely have to. So by looping it, we'll be able to shut off much smaller segments of that and just fix the lines that need to be fixed instead of having to shut off everybody. And then, there we go. Canal Road, WPF, is water production facility. Essentially, that's a well that's got disinfection capabilities and aerators. So Canal Road well is out actually on Harry Driggers, but that is an existing well, so we don't have to drill a new well, but we're going to be adding a ground storage tank and a treatment system there so we can bring that new well online for us. That'll just improve water availability and pressures in that North Mainland district. With the SPLOS funding, exit 29, there is an existing well at exit 29, very similar to Canal Road. Same project there, add a new ground storage tank and treatment capacity, but also there we're going to be adding a new elevated storage tank at exit 29. At the very far end of our county, the system's kind of shaped a little bit like a T, and they're on either end of the top of the T, but that part at the bottom of the T has some fluctuating pressures. So we're going to install a new elevated storage tank there. And then exit 42, we know about the incoming development along exit 42. We have purchased property and cleared property to construct a 750,000 gallon elevated storage tank at exit 42. If you're coming down I-95, if you look to the right and there's a random cleared lot where there's no trees, that's where the water tower is going. So that should be coming in the very near future as well. That will help stabilize water pressures and provide additional fire protection for those industrial areas along exit 42 and Highway 99. Sewer project-wise, upcoming pump station rehabs. We have 165 public pump stations that we maintain for pumping sewer in Glynn County. We have 8 of those currently under engineering design for rehab. 3 of them will be going out for bid Friday. Yes, so 2 days, those will be going out for bid. So we're always working on pump stations. We got 8 of those coming up. CIPP is cured in place piping. What that is essentially we were able to create a new pipe inside the old pipe without having to dig up the street. So 4002 is a basin that serves most of downtown Brunswick. It's the largest sewer basin in Glynn County, and so we've got a lot of work that needs to be done in there, fixing to put out about 30,000 linear feet of trenchless rehab in that area. North Mainland WPCF, we just talked about all the ongoing growth at exit 42. We are trying to finalize property acquisition to begin engineering on a new wastewater treatment plant at exit 42. With the incoming growth we see in that area, it doesn't make a lot of sense to continue to pump from exit 42 all the way back to downtown Brunswick. So that'll open up capacity not only in the North Mainland area for the future, but taking all that flow off of downtown Brunswick and the mainland area will open up additional capacity in those areas for future growth for our community. And the last 2 are very similar projects. Pump station 3101 is in the Royal Oaks neighborhood at exit 29. It receives all the flow from the port that we receive from those automobile processing facilities and some commercial development down there. Station just needs a little bit of an increase in flow and a little rehab to the mechanical parts. So we're going to increase the flow and install a new force main down there. Same thing, 4119 is this pump station that is at the end of Golden Isles Parkway at Highway 99. All of that residential development goes through that one station. So again, new force main and upgrading the pumps and mechanical systems at that pump station. So our budget for next year. Our overall budget for next year is $35.97 million. That is up from this year's budget of $34.4 million. We are requesting a rate increase of 25 cents per 1,000 gallons for sewer usage. That is for all sewer usage above 1,000 gallons a month. Our average residential customer uses 4,200 gallons a month. So that for our average residential customer, your bill would increase to 80 cents per month. So that overall adjustment from 34.4 to 35.97 is 4.6%, but the amount of increase in the actual rates is 1.3%. So, all right. And then for the last 4 years combined, we've done a total adjustment on your rates of 2.1%. So how are we able to do that? Because our system is growing as rapidly as it is. We talked about 700 new customers this year. We were almost 1,000 last year, so every one of those new customers helps keep rates lower for everyone else. So what's actually went up for our cost? Treatment chemicals for both water and sewer are up over 100%, and that's not because we're using more, that's because they're charging us more for what we're using. Electricity, if you're a Georgia Power customer, you've been notified that you're going to see a sizable increase come this month when you get your bill. It's going up about 16%, and we do pay large Georgia Power bills. And then property insurance, commercial property insurance has went insane. It appears we've received a 40% increase in our property insurance renewal, despite the fact that we have filed 0 claims. I think that's a reaction to what has occurred in Florida the last couple of years with the hurricanes. Customer service-wise, the top 3 we've been talking about for a few years now, but automatic bill pay. If you want to get auto draft out of your account on your due date, we'll be happy to do that for you, but you do have to wait to your actual due date for it to come out of your account. If you want to do paperless billing, we can get you set up for that so you can receive an email bill instead of waiting for it in the mail. Online applications, if you're starting service at a new location, if you're moving, or if you're just trying to, you've got a rental property you're trying to work with, you can get that done online now instead of having to come down to the office. And the main one there at the bottom, the lockbox location is changing. The lockbox is where you mail your check to each month if you pay by check. One of the most common questions, probably the most common question I get is, why do I mail my check to Orlando, Florida? That's because somebody has to actually take that check, scan it, and get it into the system. It is much more cost effective for us to use a large processing center to do that rather than do that locally. We're changing providers for banking services, and their lockbox location is in Charlotte, North Carolina. So your bill starting July 1st, we'll say it's being mailed to Charlotte, North Carolina. You're still paying your joint water and sewer bill. It's just where we're scanning those checks at. We still go through each month and refund deposits if you've been in good standing for 36 months. The LIWAP program is the Low Income Housing Water Assistance Program. That's a federally funded program that was with one of the COVID relief bills. The first year of that, we were able to help out 796 customers for just shy of $350,000 on water bills. So that was for past due water bills and gave them some money for future water bills. So we're hopeful that that program will continue to be funded. There's been an electricity version of this for several years, so hopefully the federal government will continue to fund that. And then if you are worried that you're going to forget to pay your bill because you didn't sign up for automatic bill pay, we can send you a text message about 5 days before your disconnect date to remind you, hey, please pay your bill so we don't have to come cut your water off. And then these are the maps I was talking about. Those blue stars is everywhere in Glynn County we have an active either engineering or construction project for water. You see it's very widespread. We got 5 on the mainland, 4 on St. Simons, and 1 down at exit 29. And then on the right, all the green stars where we have sewer projects at right now, and I'm not going to count all those. So quite a few projects there all across the board, but we're working everywhere in Glynn County. If you drive around for 10 minutes, it's almost impossible not to see one of our crews or one of our contractors working on some project work right now. So know that we're investing in the system each week, trying to make sure our systems are more and more reliable for you. And with that, there's my contact information. That's my phone and email. If you do need to get me, I am much easier to reach via email because of how infrequently I'm actually at my desk. But with that, I will open it up to any questions anyone might have.
Back to the North Glen pump station, I guess. It's the one over right by the park.
Yes, sir.
I see guys are working a lot.
Yes, sir.
And that was also involved right when you put in the sewer line.
Yes.
But is it water too there?
There's not water. What we're doing there, the pumps had kind of reached end of life. It was outside of the project scope. We didn't have to change the pumps for project for flow. They just needed to be changed out. So we've ordered new pumps, and we're changing the style of pumping we're using. Instead of using a centrifugal pump, we're going to use suction lift pumps. And so they've been forming all that, pouring all that, replacing valves and piping in the station while we're waiting on the pumps, which are supposed to be delivered, knock on wood, this week.
Okay.
So
I know you've been running diesel pumps over there.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Going on for a long time.
It has. We ordered the pumps, I believe, in January, and we're hopeful to get them this week.
When you put the sewer lines in on Driggers and Canal, about the same time, there's dark green pedestals.
Yes.
Is that a part of that?
Yes, so that's an air relief valve.
Because I ride my bike up and down
Right.
like that, and there's one of them there right at that makes noise a lot.
Yes, sir.
Most of them are always quiet, but there's one that has a high frequency buzzing.
Yeah, that is actually the air that's getting trapped in the line being released. Because if you can imagine the air bubble getting in the line, it causes a restriction and reduces the pumping rate we can have there. We don't like for them to go off, but if they are going off, that means they are working, and that's reducing our energy cost at the station. Well, I'm glad they're working. Yeah, we put the little. It's great news that they're actually working. That one was put in the right spot. So hopefully it's not every time you go by it that it's working.
That's right. It isn't every time. I'm temporarily forgetting the name of this subdivision right there. Just down, just a little south and of where
The Southern Landing, Eagle Crest, whichever.
north of there.
North of there. Country Walk.
Country Walk either.
Fox Run. We got them all up and down there.
Hardwood.
Yes.
It's the one right at Driggers and Hardwood.
Yeah. So yes, sir. So But we will, yeah, it's good to know it's working, but we need to make sure it's not overactive as well.
There was about 3 days in a row it was going, and then the last time I went past, it was quiet.
Interesting.
The rest
So,
of it's all been quiet. I haven't heard any others.
okay, well, that's something. Appreciate the information. It's always good to know where we're having those things going off, because that could be somewhere we need to be paying attention to. So, we put those little cable boxes on top of it so they're a little more inconspicuous.
But all these new lines are in service now?
All of them are in service, yes, sir. And if you were out there, you saw all the pipe out there. We had black pipe with green stripes. We had green pipe and we had blue pipe. So all kind of pipe going in the ground.
I think it was last year you explained you use a different pipe for the directional boring.
Yes, it's got to be fusible. So yes, sir. So the green pipe, either that's PVC that's open cut installed, and the black pipe is used for the boring process so that it can be fused together. They do make a fusible PVC, but we just haven't got a lot of experience with that. It's a relatively new product, but something we're interested in using, I would say.
Now, one last question is, you have a pump station right there at the intersection of what I call the airport road and Canal Driggers.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to have to move if you put a roundabout in there?
No, sir. That is actually the well site that we were talking about, that Canal Road site that's going to be converted over. We've been in constant communication with Glynn County, and essentially they're just going to flip the road to the other side of the property right there. So ours is going to stay where it's at. The road's just going to change. So we won't have to move that. We've made it very clear that we've got plans, they've got plans. So everybody's got each other's drawings to make sure we're not going to invade on each other's territory there. But yes, that was a concern when we started the project, when we heard they were going to potentially shift that intersection. Absolutely.
We've had 3 folks watching on YouTube and 1 watching on Facebook with no questions.
Very good. Anything else? Well, if not, we will be here for another hour or so this evening. Probably give the presentation one more time in case we have somebody else that couldn't get here exactly at 6 because they were running behind from work. But feel free to come down and join us, and thank you for your attention tonight. Appreciate it. budgets and rates for the upcoming year. But since we're all going to get together anyway, we're going to talk about some of the accomplishments we've had in the big picture, some construction projects that we're working on or are recently completed, the upcoming budget as required by the operating agreement, and then the customer service update and some upcoming projects. So we do a lot of work every day, and we do it in small segments, and we sometimes miss how much work we actually get accomplished. So over the last 12 months, we have cleaned, we put a jetter hose in a line and jet out fine particles that have settled out in a sewer line over the years, and we cleaned 73 miles of gravity sewer. Our goal is to clean every pipe in Glynn County once every 5 years, and we're on track to actually exceed that goal. So for the last 3 years, we've done over 210 miles of pipe being cleaned. So our goal is 70 miles a year to reach that once every 5 years. So 73 miles is roughly the distance from Brunswick to Baxley if you laid those pipes end to end. We also inspect the interior of the pipes with a camera to see what condition it is in. And we did 28.4 miles of inspection last year. That's roughly the distance from Brunswick to Woodbine. While we were cleaning and removing the debris that settled out, we pulled out 324 tons of debris. 324 tons of debris is the weight if you had 4 space shuttles that were all together at one time. At the wastewater plants, we operate 3 wastewater facilities. One of them on the mainland, Academy Creek. One on the St. Simons is Dunbar Creek, and the one at Exit 29 is known as Southport. We pumped 3.58 billion gallons of wastewater through those plants last year. That works out to 9.8 million gallons of sewer per day going through those facilities. 9.8 billion gallons a day would fill up an Olympic-sized swimming pool 15 times per day. We use biological treatment processes to remove solids at the wastewater plant once they get there, and we removed 2,803 tons of solids. So between what is settled out in the lines and what was removed at the wastewater facilities, we pulled out a little over 3,100 tons of solids that were pulled out and were not discharged back into the water bodies. So 2,800 tons is about 1,200 rhinoceroses. That works out to 3 rhinos per day that's pulled out at the wastewater plants. On the water side, we did 3.01 billion gallons of clean water. Now that's less clean water than we had sewer, and you obviously can't make more sewer than you can water because it all comes in and goes out at the same location. But what we have is actually 3 or 4 large sewer-only customers that provide, they have large wells at the industrial facilities, but they send us their sewer. So they don't get billed water, so we don't have to send them water, and so that increases the sewer rate. And we also have groundwater and rainwater that gets into the system due to the age of the infrastructure. But 3.01 billion gallons of water, that works out to a little shy, around 9 million gallons of water a day, and that is 51.5 million venti cups of coffee from Starbucks per day worth of water. On the new increased development side, our planning and construction or engineering group, they review development plans as they're submitted to make sure they meet all applicable standards before they're put into the ground for the new infrastructure, and then they actually inspect the new infrastructure as it's being installed. Projects that were completed in the last 12 months that we were able to bring online, 628 new service locations that have access to public water and sewer. That doesn't mean there's a house built there or there's actually a customer there, but 628 new lots have access. We installed 697 new meters. Those are actual new customers that were brought onto the system. And so why are there more new meters than new service locations? Well, if someone is building a subdivision that's got 50 lots in it, they may only build 10 houses in 1 year. So sometimes you'll end up with more new meters than new service locations. Also, we have irrigation meters, and some customers have 2 meters at their house, one for their domestic and sewer and one for irrigation. We completed $16.9 million worth of capital project work. Over the past 3 years, we've completed over $60 million in capital project works and probably going to do close to $25 million in capital projects next year. And then the customer service folks that are there at our main office at 1703 Gloucester Street, they handled just shy of 50,000 transactions. So that's customers that stop by the office to pay either cash, check, or swiping a credit card. That does not count the people that stop by to start new accounts. That does not count the people that stop by to ask questions or have a leak adjustment or anything like that. But right at 50,000 people in the past 12 months paid their water and sewer bills at our office there. That's about 4,000 people a month. So about 200 a day for the days that we are open each month. And let's talk about some projects that we've recently completed or are still ongoing. Mall and Oglethorpe are two EST is elevated storage tank or water towers. Those have been blasted down to bare metal and repainted. Galvanized water mains are older water lines, metal water lines that were put in the 1950s and 60s. Those lines become brittle over time and leak and also corrode on the inside, so we're going through systematically replacing those lines. And then we're also doing a system-wide water meter replacement project to replace approximately 30,000 water meters in our system. All right, here's some photos of the Mall and Oglethorpe tanks being repainted. The Mall tank there, adjacent to the Glynn Place Mall, has recently been completed minus some punch list items that are still being completed by our contractor. But we painted on one side is the Joint Water and Sewer logo, but on the side facing Altama Connector, we partnered with the College of Coastal Georgia to paint their logo on there. It's a very nice looking logo that pops against the white background there. That logo should be up there for 15 to 20 years before we have to paint that tank again. And on the right, there's a photo of the Oglethorpe tank on the north end of St. Simon's Island. In the process of being painted, you see there's some brackets that are welded off the tank here. My laser pointer went away. I don't know what this thing is doing. Anyway. So the brackets, and they hang curtains off those brackets to keep any of the debris from flying while they're blasting the paint down to bare metal. Here's some photos of some galvanized water mains we have in the system that are no longer in the system. They've been pulled out. This thing is not working at all. So these lines, like I said, they corrode on the inside and are brittle on the exterior. So the inside there, you see some corrosion growing in that 2-inch line. About a 1-inch flow that will go through there. That's not half the flow, that's about a third the volume that will actually go through there. So these lines give you less volume and lower pressures. And then on the right, you see at the top of that line, there's a hole in that line. And so it was leaking before the meter to the customer. And so that's just product we're putting on the ground that no one is actually using. So we try to get these leaking lines out of the system. We've done extensive work in St. Clair and in the El Dorado neighborhoods on St. Simon's to replace galvanized water mains. We've done a few sections on the mainland. We got about 35 miles of pipe to replace, and so we're doing between 2 and 3 miles of pipe per year, but our water distribution crews, you'll see them out and about taking care of those projects. Talk about the water meters. We've got about 22,500 water meters replaced thus far. We've got about 7,500 to go. But a couple of examples of some of the data that we have. The previous meters that we had, you basically just got a surprise once every 30 days on what your bill was, particularly if you had a leak or something of that nature. We couldn't tell you when you used water, just that the water went through the meter sometime in the past month. With the new meters we have, we can read these meters from our desk, and we also get a considerable amount more data. We have monthly usage data, daily usage data, and data down to the 1 hour mark to tell you what hour of the day you're actually using water. And that can help us troubleshoot why you might be having high water bills. So this is an example here that happened last August at a church. The months of June and July, very little water usage, and it skyrocketed in August, and then very little water usage in the months of September and October. So we drill down into the daily data, and we see there was very little usage every other day, but Sunday the 14th through Tuesday the 16th, they were using about 4,000 gallons of water per day. Previous months, they were only using about 2,000 gallons of water per month. So obviously something was wrong. We drill down to the hour mark, and this is hourly readings from August the 14th, and we see limited usage between 7 and 10 in the morning, a little bit of usage at 10 and 11, which makes sense because they were having service, and then about 12 o'clock, 250 gallons an hour going through that meter. So ended up finding out what happened. A child had left the faucet on in the restroom in the children's Sunday school classroom. So the cleaning lady found it 2 days later and turned that off, so they ran about 250 gallons an hour through that meter for 2 days. Now, this one did not get a leak adjustment because it was not a leak, but that could pinpoint what the problem is if you have this situation. Now, here's one that is a leak. This is a classic example. You see, if you look closely, that customer, no matter what time of day it is using at least 8 gallons of water. Typical household, this is a residential customer, At 1 and 2 in the morning, when everybody in the house is asleep, you should have no water going through your meter. And then you do see there about 8 in the morning, you see a spike in usage, likely running some laundry, taking a shower when they got up in the morning, a little bit of usage around lunch, and then drops back down, and then a little more usage in the evening time when maybe they got home from work. But why the 8 gallons an hour? This is a classic example of a toilet bowl flapper not seating properly. If you hear your toilet running water when you're not actually flushing the toilet, then it's leaking water. And this is an example where they used about 8 gallons an hour. And you can see these anywhere from 4 to 8 or 10 gallons an hour. It's a simple fix, but 8 gallons an hour in this example here will run up almost 6,000 gallons of water usage on your bill each month. That's about $50 a month on your water bill. So if you're having a leak and you're having a high water bill that you think you can't possibly be using that much water, call down the office, we'll look at your usage, and if you're having this continuous usage, it maybe can pinpoint you some things to look at. We've also found on this data, you see spikes randomly here, but we've also found areas where there's huge spikes at 2 o'clock in the morning because someone's irrigation system was turned on at 2 in the morning, and then by the time they got up, it had dried away and they didn't realize the irrigation system was running. So let's talk about some sewer projects. 4 that I'm highlighting here, these are all large projects. North Mainland Sewer Basin Reroute was a SPLOST project that was wrapped up last summer immediately following these meetings last year. Academy Creek and Dunbar Creek, WPCF is an engineering word that means Water Pollution Control Facility or wastewater plant. Those both have, Academy Creek recently was completed rehab, and Dunbar Creek is currently under rehab. And then water and sewer service extensions. There's been neighborhoods that over the years have been skipped for public water and sewer service, and we are focusing on infill development opportunities for those areas that are adjacent to our current systems. So here's the North Mainland project. That yellow line you see is a new pipe that was installed from a pump station on Harry Driggers Boulevard adjacent to North Glen Park. There's a new pipe that was ran from that pump station all the way down Harry Driggers and Canal underneath Golden Isles Parkway and tied into a street, Ogden Road, adjacent to Old Jessup, about 18,000 linear feet of pipe. And what that did was redirect the flow in that region down that direction instead of going across the airport and Fletsy and down Highway 17. And so it shortened the flow time it takes to get to the plant, but also the increased pipe sizes increased our available capacity in that region about 1 million gallons a day. And on the right, you see the crews there tying the final connection together. Part of this project was installed with open dig technology, and part of it was installed trenchlessly with horizontal directional drilling. So we have to tie those sections together, and that's what you see doing there. And if you look closely, there's actually a blue valve at the back end of that photo as well. So we do have valves along the way. If something happens, we can valve the line off. Here we have the Academy Creek project. I'll hit a few areas if I can make this pointer work. It ain't working anyway. That's annoying. All right, but we did a few things here. We added new odor control structures that drafts the air that comes into the plant out and treats it before it's released to the atmosphere. So we have seen a reduction in the odor coming from the facility. We installed a new splitter box at the facility that directs the flow to the 3 large rectangular structures you see. The circular structures that you see, we did some internal rework of those to allow the solids to be dispersed more fully. And then we installed tertiary filtration equipment on the back end of the plant on the very far right of the facility in the back there before it goes out. That helps clean the water up, removes about 80% more solids from what was. We were leaving the plant, which was well within compliance, but now we're doing even better, trying to be good stewards of our natural resources. The facility was paved, and there was also some SCADA improvements done there. SCADA is a remote monitoring system that we can get information about our facility and how it's running each day. A great drone photo there kind of showing the effluent leaving into Academy Creek behind us there. A nice reminder of the beautiful place we live at. Here's Dunbar Creek on St. Simon's Island. It is currently under construction right now. On the left, we're relocating some new filters and UV disinfection equipment into a new basin, and there you see them forming up to pour the walls and floor for the new filtration equipment. And on the right, this is the inside of a wastewater aeration basin when there's no water in it. And you see there's new diffusers going in there. Those diffusers, we pump air through those, and through membranes that will be stretched across the top of the diffusers, the air will come out as very fine bubbles. That will increase our ability to treat at that facility, increase the oxygen transfer rate, which allows us to be more efficient with our oxygen usage. It's supposed to save estimates around $30,000 to $40,000 on our power bill by putting in these new diffusers. These areas here are areas that are targeted for expansion. The yellow area on the left picture is the Arco neighborhood that is currently under construction. That's been under construction for a few months now and should be completed by the end of this calendar year. That'll bring about 450 new parcels access to our sewer systems. The two pink areas are areas with active engineering projects. The north section is Community Road between Habersham and Altama. That area does not have sewer, and we'll be providing low pressure sewer options in that area. And to the south is Brunswick Villa. It's across the railroad tracks from Arco, an older neighborhood that has access to water with non-conforming lots for for septic tanks these days. We're installing sewer so they can get off their septic tanks. On the right, the blue areas are areas that are targeted for expansion opportunities with the past SPLOST referendum. So on the far left of that photo, that's the area known as Harlem or Gordon Heights, adjacent to Whitlock Street, that is bordered on all four sides by the railroad tracks. So it's a challenging area, but we have residents in that area that need both water and sewer access. In the center there, you see Country Club Farms or Acres in Bell Point. Country Club Farms would be they have water, and we'll be trying to run sewer in there. Bell Point will be the last one on this list to approach because it's such a large neighborhood. They will likely not get all of that sewer, but we hopefully to get that started. And then on St. Simons, two neighborhoods that we'll be targeting for sewer is St. Clair in the Mid-Island area and then Etworth Acres. Both of those have access to water but not sewer. So some upcoming water projects. North Mainland Water Loops is a project that we have out for bid right now. That project will actually allow us to multi-directional feed water in the North Mainland District, so that if we have a main break, we can isolate much smaller sections of the North Mainland District without having to shut off large quantities of people to fix that leak. Canal Road Water Production Facility is a well site located on Harry Driggers. It was there before it was named Harry Driggers, and it's called the Canal Road Facility. It's an existing well. We're going to add a ground storage tank and aerators and treatment capacity there, and that will increase water availability along Harry Driggers and in the Glencoe Parkway area. Exit 29 elevated storage tank is a water tower and WPF water production facility. So it's basically the exact same project we're doing at Canal Road. There's an existing well, new water tank, ground storage tank, new aerators and treatment capacity there, and then we're also going to add a new elevated storage tank at exit 29 adjacent to the interstate. That'll help stabilize pressures on the south end. And then exit 42, if you're coming south on I-95 and you look to your right, there's an area that's been cleared off there and there's trees. We're going to construct a new water tower along the interstate there as well. That'll be a 750,000 gallon water tower, and that will help provide additional water availability and storage, and also fire protection for the increased growth at exit 42 and particularly the industrial park areas we have there. On the sewer side, we have 165 pump stations, and so we're constantly rehabbing pump stations. So we have 8 of them that will be began rehab on hopefully in the next 12 months. 4002 CIPP is cured in place piping. It's a way we can basically create a new pipe inside an old pipe without having to dig up the streets. So the 4002 basin serves downtown Brunswick. It's the largest sewer basin in Glynn County. And so we're going to do about 30,000 linear feet of pipe. It's about 25% of that sewer basin that needs some rehab there. So that'll all be done trenchlessly. North Mainland WPCF, that's a new wastewater plant we're looking at in the exit 42 area. We're trying to finalize some property acquisition, and then hopefully we'll begin engineering on a new wastewater facility at exit 42. With the increased growth, commercial, residential, and potential industrial growth at exit 42, trying to plan for the future and not continue to pump all the way from exit 42 to downtown Brunswick with all that flow. And then 2 projects that are very similar on different ends of the county. 3101 is a pump station in the Royal Oak subdivision. That station needs rehab. It also needs some increased capacity due to some increasing development at the port and some commercial development in the area. And so while we're rehabbing that, we're also going to install a new force main, which is the pipe that leaves the pump station and pumps it to the nearest gravity basin. We're doing the exact same thing at 4119. That's at the end of Golden Isles Parkway at Highway 99. New rehab to that station, increasing the capacity, and a new force main that will run along Highway 99 to increase flow availability in those areas. For our budget for next year, our overall budget is $35.97 million. That is up from $34.4 million this year. To facilitate the budget increase, we will be requesting a 25 cents per 1,000 gallon sewer usage increase. Last year we did a minor water usage increase, and this year we're doing a minor sewer usage increase. Our average residential customer uses 4,200 gallons of water and sewer per month. So if you are one of those that use about that, your bill will go up about 80 cents per month. So that jump from $34.4 to $35.97 is a 4.6% increase in our total budget. However, the rate adjustment is only 1.3% of the rate. In the past 4 years combined, we've done a total of 2.1% of rate adjustments. So we've been able to increase our budget without having to increase rates due to the growth we've seen in our community. Residential and commercial growth all across Glynn County has been very strong, and having those new customers helps keep our rates affordable for our existing customer base. Well, what's causing the increases in our budget? Treatment chemicals. We use chemicals to treat the water, chlorine and phosphates to treat the water. And we also use chemicals at the wastewater plant, again, chlorine there, liquid oxygen at one of our facilities, and some polymers to coagulate the solids before we take them out of the facility. And those have went up over 100% in the last year, not because we're using more, but because the rate to use them has went up double what it was. Electricity, if you're a Georgia Power customer, you likely got notified that your bill is going to go up about 16% starting June 1st. Well, we pay a sizable amount of Georgia Power bills with all of our 165 pump stations and well sites and wastewater plants in the main building. So that cost is a substantial increase to us as well. And then property insurance, we have commercial property insurance in case of earthquake or flood or wind event or anything like that. And commercial property insurance has taken a beating with the recent storms in Florida, and so the market has changed drastically. And we were informed we were going to get about a 40% increase in our property insurance rates. On the customer service side, three things that we've been offering for a couple of years but are still want to get the word out about. We do offer automatic bill pay or auto draft out of your account. You would like it to draft the exact amount that your bill is each month on your due date. It can draft out of your account. You do have to wait till your due date, but if you are signed up for automatic bill pay and for whatever reason it does not work by your due date, please call us and we will take care of that for you. Paperless billing. If you do not want to get a mailed copy of your bill, we can send you a e-bill each month, so you don't have to worry about waiting on it to come in the mail. Online applications, if you want to start service at a new location or you're moving or somebody's moving into town, you can start service online now without having to come see us. And then the lockbox location is changing. A lockbox is where you mail your check into each month. That goes to a check processing facility currently in Orlando, Florida. And they scan all those checks, and all that data is imported to us so we don't have to open all those checks ourselves. It's a much more cost-effective way of receiving checks, and we get about 20,000 checks a month. We are changing banking providers and their lockbox locations in Charlotte. So beginning July 1st, your bill, when you mail it back, the skirt that's included with that will say that you're mailing it to Charlotte, North Carolina. You are still paying your bill to the Joint Water and Sewer Commission. It's just where that check processing center is located at. And customer service as well, deposit refunds each month. We refund deposits for customers that have been had in good standing for 36 consecutive months. So that's an ongoing process. LIWAP is the Low Income Housing Water Assistance Program. That's a program that was started by the federal government with one of the COVID relief bills. And we've been able to take advantage of this to help some customers out. Administered through the Coastal Georgia Community Action Authority. Last year, in the first year of the program, we were able to help out just shy of 800 customers for just shy of $350,000. So we had some customers with some large balances past due that were completely paid off and a few $100s for future bills. So we're hopeful that that funding will continue to be provided by the federal government, and we can help out some of the lower income customers that we have that have been struggling. And then lastly, text message notifications. If you would like us to notify you that you forgot to pay your bill about 5 days before your water is scheduled for disconnection, we'll send you a text message that says essentially, please come pay your bill, so we don't want to have to come turn your water off because you forgot to pay your bill. We won't bombard you with messages. We'll just send you one about 5 days before the due date, for the cutoff date, if you forget to pay. And there's some maps here. These are printed out larger in the room if you're here with us at Howard Coffin Park, but these are maps of areas we have active construction or engineering projects in Glynn County. The blue stars on the left are everywhere we have a water project, and green stars are everywhere we have a sewer project. So we are working literally everywhere in Glynn County right now. It's very difficult if you spend 15 minutes driving around to not drive past one of our ongoing work sites. And that's us reinvesting in the system to make it more reliable and more sustainable for you moving forward. And with that, there's my contact info. That's my phone number, that's my desk, and my email. It's better to email me because I am rarely at my desk, but you can leave me a message if you choose, and I can call you back whenever I'm back at my desk. But with that, I'll open it up to any questions for anybody in the audience here locally, or what about online? No questions online. Well, this will conclude our annual Budget and Rates Town Hall. We thank you for your attendance at these events the last 2 nights, and if you have questions, feel free to reach out after the event. We'll be happy to answer them for you. And with that, thank you, and everyone have a great evening.